Hi. So that video was cut short because my phone ran out of battery. So in 2018, yes, I played the violin. I played the oboe part in our high school band, and our high school band was good. They won quite a few marching band competitions in Memphis, and they got we got invited to play in Carnegie Hall, and so we went to New York for a few days at the end of March until end of March or early April, and got to see Statue of Liberty, Ellis Island, Carnegie Hall, Manhattan, Wall Street, the New York Stock Exchange, the Bull. At the time, the New York Stock Exchange was like under construction. And so we saw the Bull and Empire State Building, yes. And we also went to Times Square and Rockefeller Center, Central Park, and it was one of the best times of my life. And we, on our way home from New York, in the bus, we drove on the way to the airport. Our bus driver drove us to New Jersey instead of the airport. When we realized we were in New Jersey, everyone was in a panic mode. We had to turn around and drive quickly to catch our flight. So I love New York. At the time, I did not like it because I thought that it was just so claustrophobic, and this concrete jungle kind of feels suffocating. But now I have a renewed appreciation for New York. We also went to Broadway and we watched a musical, School of Rock. That's the second musical I've seen. I also saw Phantom of the Opera before. So that's my New York experience. And I'd love to go back there one day. And in May that year, May 2018, I came back home to Cebu for a vacation, summer vacation before grade 12. So in the 2 months I was here, we went to the neighboring island of Negros, where we drove from Cebu. We rode a ferry. We drove our cars into the ferry with my cousins, and we drove across the island of Negros, and we went to the city called Bacolod. The name of the island is Negros. Yes, that is the name of the island. And there is no connotation whatsoever. That's just the name of the island. So we drove to Bacolod, and Bacolod is a city known for its sugar. The island is filled with sugarcane plantations, and so we explored the city, and it was fun. There was a Highlands Park there called Campestohan Highlands Park, where I tried an obstacle course, a high obstacle course, which was long, and physically demanding. And we also did a hamster wheel in the air, and you should probably check it out, what it looks like. It was exhilarating. And that's the first place I went to in my vacation in Cebu in 2018, in that summer. Then the second place we went to was a small volcanic island south of Cebu, right next to Mindanao. And that island is called Camiguin. So in Camiguin, we rented a van and we drove around the island. There's so many waterfalls there, and we also saw their sunken cemetery, which is one of their main attractions. And we also did some island hopping. We visited their famous white sand cove, that's just a small strip of white sand, which is very beautiful. And that island is famous for a fruit, a tropical fruit called lanzones. When we were there was no lanzones available. But that island has some of the best lanzones you could ever have. Cebu, meanwhile, where I'm at right now, is known for its mangoes, alongside another Philippine island called Guimaras, known for its mangoes as well. So that summer was very fun with me and my cousins in going on these road trips. Then later that year, I went back to Memphis and continued high school. And in my time in high school in Memphis, I joined a string ensemble at the Bellevue Baptist Church. And in every Christmas of that year, they do a musical called The Singing Christmas Tree. And so I joined that, where you have to play the violin and dance at the same time. And it's not easy, but we managed to do it. And our string ensemble also performed at nursing homes and did other outreach activities. And I remember that whole year of 2018 to 2019, I was spending so much time preparing my college applications because I wanted to get into an Ivy League college. I applied to all of them, and even also MIT. I also applied to MIT, to Caltech, to UCLA, Berkeley, Stanford, and Fordham, and many other colleges, like elite colleges, which I wanted to get into. I was not meant to go to those schools, to those universities, and not only because of their exclusivity, but also because of the expense. So the one college that I got accepted to, which gave me a scholarship for a free college education, was University of Memphis. And so clearly that was the most practical choice. And so I chose University of Memphis, I accepted their offer, and I studied business. So that sums up my 2018 and my 2019. And 2017 was when I went to Japan. So I already talked about that. And in July, later half of the year, I moved to the US in Memphis and studied at Briarcrest. So that first half of the year was a lot of adjusting to a new culture, which was culture shock. And meeting my violin teacher in Memphis, getting used to my lessons, my schedule, that was a transformative learning period. Yes. So that's 2017. In early 2017, I was still at my high school here in Cebu, and that school is called Springdale. And in Springdale, from 2014 to 2017, grades 8, 9, and 10, I was in Springdale. It's an all-boys school. It's a Catholic school. It's part of Opus Dei, and some of the best times of my life. My classmates are my treasured friends, and we did a lot together. We had a lot of firsts together, and nothing can replace your high school experience. So that was my time in Springdale for 3 years. That was the first time where I had to make my own short film, where we had to write our own screenplay, where we had to give speeches, where I had my first taste of debate in the debate club, and where I first tried competitive Scrabble in the Scrabble club, and tried competitive chess in the chess club, and where I also tried robotics in our robotics club with Lego Mindstorms, and where I also tried competitive mathematics, math bowls. And me and my team, my pair, his name is Lance, we reached second place. That's the farthest I went with him during those 3 years. In Springdale, my cousin was also my classmate, and my younger brother and my 2 other cousins also studied in Springdale. And that was a beautiful time in my life, where I was surrounded by very supportive friends, very supportive teachers, and a very welcoming community. That was also the time when, apart from school, I was heavily involved in our orchestra, the Classic Youth Orchestra, where we performed extensively during those 3 years, both locally and internationally, and where I improved significantly as a violinist. We performed in 2015. I went to Thailand, Bangkok, with my orchestra mates, where we performed in a international youth orchestra with players from Indonesia, from Thailand, from Philippines, from so many Asian countries, Cambodia. And that opened my horizons, that opened my perspective. That was 2015. So 2016, we performed in Cambodia. And that summer of that year, my cousins from the US also went to the Philippines, and we went to Singapore and Malaysia. In Singapore, we stayed at the Marina Bay Sands. We also went to Legoland in Johor Bahru. And it was a very fun time of my life. And in Cambodia, we went to the Angkor Wat, and the Angkor Wat, the famous temple where I got a piece of stone, and when I had kept it in my hand, lightning struck, and it was like a warning, but I didn't mind it. And my orchestra friends, there were so many of us, we went to Cambodia. It was very fun. Then in 2016 as well, I believe, I had the chance to be a soloist, and I was still in my formative years as a violinist, and I performed the Bach double violin concerto. I played the first violin part as soloist, and it was one of the big performances of my violin career. We went to St. Scholastica's and performed in front of thousands of people as yes, I performed with the group and I was the soloist, and it was one of a kind. And we also orchestra performs a lot of music. A lot of music. Films, TV series, religious music, classical music, you name it. Harry Potter, Game of Thrones, Pirates of the Caribbean, Japanese music, the concertos, Rachmaninoff, Grieg, Mendelssohn, Bach, Mozart, Gershwin. So many classical pieces we performed. Puccini, In the Hall of the Mountain King, Moldau, Finlandia, Beethoven, and so many more. We went to other places in the Philippines as well. When I was in the US, they went to Mindanao. They went to a city called Bukidnon. When I was in, we also went to the island of Bohol beside Cebu, which for those of you who have been to the Philippines, you know that it's known for its chocolate hills and its famous tarsier. So we played in Bohol, and we also went to Manila and played in Manila. So that I did a lot. Yes, a lot of performances in those 3 years when I was in Springdale in Cebu. So that's 2014, 2015, 2016, and 2017. When you go back a little further, grade 7, 2013, I studied in a dormitory school south of Cebu City called the Philippine Science High School. And there, that was my first exposure to the real Philippines, what most people's lives are like. It's a boarding school, and I cried a lot in the first month I was there. And I adapted, and my other cousin from my third uncle, who's in Samar, went all the way to Cebu to study there, and we shared a room together. And we were in different sections. So our batch was 90 people. There were 30 people in each section. The section names are quartz, zircon, and bauxite, and I was in quartz. My cousin was in bauxite, and I have another good friend from that school called, his nickname's Graham, and he was in zircon. So the three of us were kind of good friends in that year. My cousin stayed there all the way until grade 12, where yes, he stayed there. And my other cousin in Springdale also stayed there all the way until grade 12. And when both of them graduated, my two cousins, they went to Manila and they studied there. And they're doing well now. So I've talked about my high school. Grade 7, yes, it's considered middle school in the US, but here in the Philippines, it's already the first year of high school, which is 6 years. Yes. So I've talked about my high school, talked about my online college, and I've talked about places I've been to after college. So that's a short summary of my life. I think that's pretty extensive. Yes, one last thing. In 2019, before moving back to the Philippines, in April of that year, we went to Europe with my orchestra friends, my orchestra mates from Cebu. We performed in Vienna. Our landing point was Vienna, Austria. Then we rode a train to Budapest in Hungary, and we rode a bus to Prague, Czechoslovakia, to Frankfurt in Germany. And in Germany, Frankfurt, we did a lot of touring. And that was the time when we booked a trip to Paris, a last minute trip, and we missed our flight because I did not wake up early enough. So it was pretty sad, but we finished our trip and it was very successful. That's the first time as well I went to the airport in Amsterdam. Yes. So that's my Europe trip. Vienna was beautiful. The best burger I've tried was in Prague. One of the best sausages I've eaten was in Vienna. And one of the best pizzas I've eaten was in Frankfurt. Don't judge me for that because I didn't get the chance to go to Italy. So that's where I tried my pizza. I wish to go to London someday, and I'd love to continue doing this monologue thing, and I think I'm better at it. I think I am better at it, and I hope that I can keep on doing this because it's fun. If you think that I can act, I hope that this serves as some sort of introduction, a mini audition, if you will. Bye.